What if war itself was someone else's meal? Not the bodies, not the planets, just the noise. All the grand speeches, the glorious last stands, the perfect battle plans, feeding something you can't see. The bigger and louder a conflict becomes, the more useful it is to something hiding in the patterns. Get cozy for today's story and grab a blanket, because this time humanity doesn't win by building a bigger gun or a smarter bomb. They win by going still, by dimming Earth, pulling billions off stage and turning their homeworld into something very unsettling for any would-be conqueror. A calm, patient silence. Somewhere out there, Regent Kael Drov of the Karax Dominion is arriving at our solar system, ready for glory, ready to burn cities and carve his name into history. But when his shining fleet drops into orbit around Earth, he doesn't find a world on its knees. He finds a planet that looks like it simply stopped playing. They came to find fire and noise. Regent Kael Drov of the Karax Dominion crossed half a spiral arm to reach the cradle of humankind, ready for triumph. He expected burning cities, breaking fleets, and a bright storm of signals across every band of space. He expected his name to stand in the history of conquerors for taking Earth. Instead, when his vast ships slid into the Sol system, they found something else. They found quiet. Not the quiet of death or ruin. Not the empty dark after a lost war. They found a kind of careful stillness, as if an entire world had taken a slow breath and decided not to let it go. Yet, lights across the blue planet were faint or gone. Stations hung in orbit with most panels turned away. Surfaces dark and calm. The usual storm of messages from a busy home system was gone, replaced by a faint, looping signal that felt almost like a joke. It told the Karax they were late. It told them the game they had come to play was already over. Far away in hidden control rooms and small quiet outposts, Commanders Sloane Bennett and Dr. Sloane, Jamal Reed watched the arrival of the Dominion with steady eyes. They had spent years turning Earth into this still, patient thing. They had helped move billions of lives away from their bright home, down silent corridors of space, into hidden habitats and distant sanctuaries. They had done it for a reason many in the galaxy still refused to see. Not on bodies or planets, not on simple fear or pain. It fed on patterns and noise, on grand moves written across history, on battles that followed the same proud script every time. It was old, very clever, and very patient. It did not care who won, as long as both sides played loud enough. It watched the rise and fall of empires and slowly guided them toward bigger wars, bigger stories, stronger signals. It was hard to find because it did not leave bodies or ships behind. It left only strange patterns in data. Humanity had learned to see those patterns. It had taken centuries of wars and strange luck, of victories that felt slightly wrong, of defeats that made no sense, of signals that lined up just a little too well. When they finally understood, they did something unusual. They stepped out of the story. No grand last battle for Earth, No brave stand in orbit, no endless calls across space begging for help. Instead, they powered everything down, dimmed their home, cleared their routes, and turned themselves into something new. Not prey, not conquerors. A quiet mind, watching, waiting for the parasite to lean in a little too close. Regent Kael Drov came to Sol under banners of victory. His flagship, the Sovereign Spear, led a flock of heavy carriers and escort ships, each one lined with weapons and thick plates of armor. Their drives burned hard at the edge of the system, bright waves of energy cutting across the dark. Dominion doctrine did not bother with hiding. Power, they believed, should shine. His officers stood around him in the main command hall, tall and proud in Karak's silver. The walls hummed softly with filtered sensor data. The star in the center of the system glowed steady in their displays. Around it, planets spun in clean orbits. "This is the human cradle," said Admiral Threk, second in command. "Our scouts report no heavy resistance. Their fleets are scattered. Their outer stations are quiet. It will be a swift campaign, Regent." Kael watched Earth grow larger in the central view, blue, white, and scattered green. From this far out, it did not look like a threat. It looked peaceful, almost gentle. "Our history records them as loud innovators," Kael said. "They talk, they broadcast. They argue with each other across every channel. They build quickly, and they burn just as quickly. There should be noise. There is some signal," Threk replied, "but far less than the models predicted." That small, odd note made a nearby tactician frown. Perhaps they suffered internal collapse before our arrival, the tactician suggested, or some plague, or civil war, or a trick, Kael said, but his tone held no real worry. The Dominion had smashed tricks before. "Bring us in," standard invasion posture, full scans. Target power grids, fleets, orbital stations, prepare announcement of Dominion control. On a hidden station far down the ecliptic plane, Sloane Bennett watched the same approach. But from a different angle, her station did not glow in any bright band. Its hull matched the emptiness around it. Its heat leaks were faint and shaped like nothing of interest. Her hair was tied up, sleeves rolled, eyes fixed on the incoming icons that marked Dominion ships. Her console showed them in quiet lines, sorted by fuel, by mass, by probable routes. She had studied these kinds of fleets for many years, not as a fighter, but as a mover. Sloane was an evacuation planner. She thought in flows. Cargo, data, paths. How to move billions without chaos. How to hide not just ships, but the signs those ships left behind. "They are earlier than projected," said a soft voice beside her. Jamal Reed sat at a neighboring console, knees drawn slightly in, mug of strong tea cooling by his hand. But not by much. They followed exactly the same kind of path 3 other empires used, 2 centuries apart. Same approach angles, same timing, same pattern of small threats sent ahead. "That is what we needed," Sloane answered. Her voice was calm, low, used to tight rooms and long nights. Predictable steps, predictable pride. "You sound almost relaxed," Jamal said. "I am terrified," Sloane replied, "but I am used to that." "How are the loops still running?" Jamal said. "Still simple, still boring." He had designed most of those loops himself. Short, repeating messages sent from Earth and a handful of stations. Not pleas, not threats, just dry, almost playful lines. To a conqueror, they would look like a weak attempt at mocking fate. Just enough to irritate, just enough to suggest that humans had fled and left a joke behind. Jamal was not a soldier or a fleet officer. He was a signal anthropologist. He studied messages the way biologists studied life, stories, myths, warnings, battle songs. He had spent his life watching how empires talked about themselves. When they won, how did they describe victory? When they lost, how did they explain it? He noticed the same patterns repeating across different species, different centuries, different regions of the galaxy. Pride, punishment, destiny, cleansing fire, last stands. And over time, he noticed something stranger. When wars followed certain story shapes, strange mistakes lined up in their data. Sensor errors that helped pushes in the same direction. Random glitches that made attacks easier. Calculations that somehow all leaned the same way. A kind of hidden hand, not strong enough to be clear, but always nudging. "It loves this part," Jamal said quietly, mostly to himself. The arrival, the big show. "This is where it usually starts eating." Sloane glanced over. "Then we must starve it." On the sovereign spear, Kael stepped closer to the view. Focus lenses adjusted. Earth filled the projection like a hanging globe. Cities speckled the dark side, but most of them were dim, like lanterns that had been turned low. There were no thick nets of ships around it, no bright lines of defensive weapons. The ring of stations looked neat and empty. The ring of stations looked neat and empty. "This is wrong," said Admiral Threck. "Even for collapse. Their records show billions. Their trade and science were rich. There should be more sign of struggle, more heat, more debris." "They saw us coming," Kael said, though he did not yet know how deep that truth went. "They fled. They hide in the stars, but left their jewel behind." Very dramatic. A signal officer cleared their throat. "Regent, we have captured a repeating broadcast from near the planet's North Pole. It is simple, low power, no encryption. It addresses us directly." "Play it," Kael ordered. The voice that came through was calm and dry. Threck bristled slightly. "You invite neutral eyes to your surrender." "No," Sloane said plainly. "We invited neutral eyes to the truth we must show you." Kael glanced at Sail. "I know of Aruan. Watchers, collectors of history, sellers of secrets when it suits you, buyers of survival," Sail replied evenly. "It has suited us very well not to fight wars big enough to destroy our own worlds. I am here because what these humans found affects more than humans and Karax. Kael did not sit. His marines spread in a loose arc near the walls. Maria stood still, hands behind her back. Jamal waited by the frozen graphs. You have led us through an empty corridor. Kael said to Sloane, you turned your cradle into a quiet graveyard. You kept running every time we arrived. That is not the behavior of someone who wishes to talk. We were not running from you, Sloane said. We were guiding you and something else to a place where you could both be seen. We wanted to talk when you were close enough to listen without shouting, he frowned. Something else. Jamal stepped forward. Regent, before we say another word. I ask you to look at this data. No politics, no insults, just numbers and curves. Your own fleets overlaid with past campaigns. Kael almost refused, out of pride. Then his eyes caught part of the display. He saw the labels in Karak's script, the dates of 3 famous battles from his own history, lined up next to current readings from his ships. You stole our records? Threk snapped. We bought some, Sile said calmly. We inferred others. Information moves. That is what it does. Kael stepped closer to the display. Why should I care about old campaign graphs? Those are studied in our academies already. Not like this, Jamal said. He touched a control, and several colored bands brightened. These lines show synchronization levels across your fleets. How tightly your systems lined up in time, far beyond normal doctrine. This curve here is from the War of the 7 Hemispheres. 200 Karax years ago. This one from the burn of the Outer Spur. This from the siege of Varric Gate. And this, he tapped the last line, is from your current campaign. Kael's eyes narrowed. The curves matched in shape, almost exactly, rising at the same points, leveling at the same heights, dropping at the same kinds of moments. Coincidence, Threk said quickly. Good training, similar conditions. Shared doctrine leads to shared rhythms. Shared doctrine explains some of it. Jamal agreed. But not all. Look at these smaller marks. He changed the view. Tiny spikes appeared along each curve. These show system glitches recorded in your own logs, Jamal said. Clock errors, sensor resets, power flickers, guidance blips that were corrected. In each great war, they cluster around the same points in the story of the battle, just before your side gained some great advantage, just before your enemies made mistakes that were too perfect. Kael scowled. Battles turn on chance, on courage, on flaws. You insult our dead if you say victory came from simple glitches. I say those glitches were not simple, Jamal replied. His tone stayed soft. And I say they are happening again right now in your fleet, across many ships at once, at distances and speeds that normal random noise does not match. Sloane watched Kael's face. Pride fought with curiosity there. The parasite tugged at his mind, trying to push him away from this slow, dry talk, and toward something dramatic instead. She could not feel it. but she could see the signs. A slight tension in his jaw, a flash of annoyance when Jamal spoke too long. "Regent," Sale said, stepping in gently. "We Arun saw similar patterns in our neighbors' wars over many ages. We told ourselves comforting stories, data errors, cosmic rays. And now, signal, data, errors, cosmic rays, chance. But chance does not repeat the same song across so many different cultures with such exact timing. These humans put the pieces together in a way we did not." "Pieces of what?" Kael asked. "Say it plain." "A parasite that feeds on your wars," Sloane said. "Not a beast you can shoot. Not a person with a face. A pattern that survives by pushing empires like yours into loud, repeated stories of conquest. It lives in your code, your doctrine, your proud tales of past victories. It does not care if you win or lose. It only cares that you fight in ways that make big, clean signals." Kael stared at her. Threk laughed, too sharp. "Superstition. You fear your own data and call it a monster. Convenient. It lets you pretend you did not truly lose your last wars. Oh, it was not our fault. A ghost made us do it." "This is not about blame," Jamal said. "We humans did the same things. We wrote the same songs about honor and last stands and burning skies. Our own wars show similar curves. We fed this thing very well for centuries." "What stopped you?" Kael asked. Some interest, despite himself, had crept into his tone. "We changed how we talk and act under threat," Sloane answered. "Less noise, fewer grand speeches, fewer last stands. We cut down bright, proud signals and used calm procedures instead. It starved on us, so it looked for other feasts. You were still there, still loud, still proud." Kael's hand curled slowly into a fist. "You blame us for your ghost." "No," Sloane said. "We blame history for failing to see it sooner. We blame ourselves as well. We fought plenty of stupid wars first." Jamal pointed back at the graphs. "Regent, this thing is not a spirit or a god. It is a pattern of influence in information. When your fleets go loud, when your stories match old ones, it can push you tiny degrees at many points. A slightly better formation here, an enemy sensor glitch there. Each change looks harmless. Together, they shape whole campaigns. And you expect me to believe that my victories, my people's honor, were just feeding some invisible leech in the data?" Threk's voice shook with anger. "I expect you to look at what your own numbers show," Jamal said quietly. "If you deny what is in front of you just to protect your pride, that is your choice. But this thing will not stop with you. It will ride you until your wars light up half this arm of the galaxy. And when you fall, it will climb on whoever shouts the next loudest." Kael said nothing. He looked at the curves again, remembered academy lectures, stories of lucky breaks at just the right time, glorious turns, fate. His mind pushed back. He wanted to say it was all nonsense. Yet doubt had already crept there back in the corridor. With each empty station and each small, odd error, the wideband scans had brought not clarity, but more strange faults. "Why bring me here?" he asked at last. "You could have hid forever. In your quiet holes, you could have let us march on, fighting others. Why show me this?" "Because hiding only saves us," Sloane said. "It does nothing to stop the cycle. You would still fight. Others would join you or fight you. The parasite would keep eating. We brought you here to offer something very rare in galactic history. A way to walk away from this war without a clean victory or a clean defeat. A way to change the script." Threk snorted. "You mean a chance to slink back home, shamed while you sit here safe?" Myria spoke for the first time. Her voice was steady, almost dry. "There is no shame in stepping away from a game designed for someone else's benefit." Kael studied her. "You were a soldier?" "Yes," Myria said. "Long enough to see too many lucky shots. Long enough to lose friends in battles that felt almost staged." Kael felt an old, buried memory stir. A near disaster in his early career turned at the last minute by a miracle sensor glitch in the enemy's fleet. He had taken pride in it at the time. Medals, speeches, promotions. The Academy had used it as a case study in tactical brilliance. He asked, in concrete terms, not just lectures about patterns. This was his core part. "We will send a containment broadcast along your command channels," he said. "Not a message with words or threats. A dull, repeating pattern that breaks the parasite's favorite. Sinks. It will disrupt the tight curves you see here, push them back into normal noise." Kael's eyes narrowed. "You will infect our fleets with your own code instead." "No," Jamal said. "You can watch the code. Archivist salespeople will watch it too. It carries no instructions beyond a slow, boring beat. It does not change your orders. It only makes it harder for anything to line your errors up the way this parasite does." Sale nodded. "We have tested their pattern on our own machines and some old war records. It reduces the strange alignments. It is like adding static that drowns out a very specific background song." "And after that?" Kael asked. "After that," Sloane said, "you pull back, not in panic, not in defeat. You declare that the humans you chased are not worth the fuel to crack, that we have turned inward and offer no rich war for you. Dry, boring. You reduce wide-band scans. You step away from our corridor and choose to shape your future wars differently. Or perhaps, at last have fewer wars." Threk's face reddened. "You want the Dominion to walk away from a near victory because of your ghost story and some graphs. You insult us and waste our time. Regent, we should take this station, take their data, and let our own mind priests look at it." Kael did not answer him. In his head, two paths stood. In one, he shouted now, ordered immediate capture, forced these humans to kneel, tore their machines apart, and handed the data to his own people. There would be fire, fear, maybe some nasty surprises in the station's hull. But the story would end in a way the assembly knew how to read. Strong regent, crushed tricksters, glorious homecoming. In the other path, he did something that had almost no story at all. He sat, listened, let these people pour out more dry details. He took their dull pattern and let it run through his proud fleet. He returned home with no ark full of leaders, no burned worlds, no clear song of conquest. The parasite wanted the first path. Jamal and Sloane could not see it, but their filters, watching the fleet outside, could. As Kael's heart rate rose, as Threk's voice pressed for action, synchronization bands ticked upward. Systems across the Dominion ships leaned closer to that perfect bright sheet of aligned errors. Sloane knew they had seconds, maybe minutes, before some accident outside would tilt things beyond words. A misread sensor saying the station powered up weapons, a random spike in a marine sphere leading to a shot. The old pattern trying to pull itself together. She did something simple. She reached for the teapot, poured a cup, and set it gently in front of Kael. No poison, she said. No trick. Just hot leaves in water. Sit, Regent. If you still wish to take us after this talk, you will. We cannot stop you. But if you walk back down that corridor with this thing still riding your fleets, history will not remember you as strong. It will remember you as food. The word hung in the air. Food. Kael hated the image. Dominion, pride, saw itself as the eater, not the eaten. The idea that something without ships or guns might be using his empire like a farm made his skin crawl. He looked at the tea. It steamed quietly. No roar, no song, just warmth. Slowly, he sat. Threk stared in shock. Regent. Silence. Admiral, Kael said, without heat but with full authority. If our entire strength can be broken by sharing a drink and hearing a few charts, then it was never strength at all. Jamal glanced at Sloane and Sale. Very carefully, he sent a signal down a prepared line. Outside, in a human relay deep inside the Ark station, the containment broadcast program woke. It did not sing. It did not shout. It began to send a slow, flat pattern toward the Dominion fleet, carried along the docking link, and through any open command channels that would accept it. The pattern was simple. Pulses spaced in a semi-random way that still held a steady average. Not music, not a code for thoughts, just a kind of soft static that made it hard for other, hidden forces to line events up just so. In the graphs on Sloane's hidden console, the edges of the synchronization bands around the sovereign spear began to blur. Jamal kept his own voice calm. Regent, as we speak, we are sending the containment pattern into your systems. You have full access to it. Sales Group will monitor. If you wish, you can cut it at any time. But I ask you to let it run and watch what happens to your lucky glitches. Kael drank the tea. It was strong and plain. It grounded him. Somehow, what do you gain? He asked. If I agree to step back, you keep your people hidden. You keep your quiet worlds. Eventually, some other empire comes along. Or my assembly sends another regent. You cannot silence the whole galaxy. We do not dream of silencing the galaxy, Sloane said. We aim to teach it a new trick, that sometimes walking away is not weakness. It is survival. If you, the loudest hunter in this sector, step back from a sure meal, others will notice. Not today, not tomorrow, but in stories, in quiet questions. They will ask why, and you hope, Sale added, that when they ask, the answer will carry these graphs and this pattern along with it. Kael looked at Sale, and you, archivist, why help them? Why risk angering an empire? Like mine, Sale folded his hands. Because we are rune like living, and we like watching. If this parasite keeps growing, there will be fewer living things to watch. It does not only drive war, it makes wars larger than they need to be. It turns every border fight into a legend. Legends burn worlds. Boring. Local disputes kill fewer people. Trek shook his head. You want us to accept a boring future. No great songs. No sagas. You can sing about other things. Jamal said, building. Surviving. Solving problems without burning half a system. Curiosity can be as bright as conquest. If you let it, Kael let out a slow breath. In his mind, the two paths still pulled. He could order his Marines to seize everyone in this room. He believed, even without the parasite, that his fleet could still break this station and any hidden forces nearby. It would be messy, but doable. Yet something had already changed. The containment pattern lapped at his systems, dull and steady. Outside, minor lucky alignments began to break apart. Two ships that had just started to shift into a perfect firing position both caught actual natural sensor noise and had to pause to sort it. A tiny software error that would have delayed a coolant alarm by 2 minutes now came on time, forcing a crew to slow their ship for safety. Small things, but real. Can I see it? Kael asked. This parasitic influence. In real time, Jamal tapped his device. A side panel lit with a live chart of synchronization anomalies from the spear and a few nearby ships. And a few nearby ships. Here, Jamal said. This was 1 hour ago. A tight, tall band appeared. This is now after 3 minutes of containment pattern. The band shortened and blurred at the edges. Kael stared. Can you shape that to my whole fleet? He asked, without binding us to your control. Yes, Jamal said. We send the pattern, you copy it and own it. You can even change the carrier wave to your own design. We will help you do it, then step back. You do not need us forever. Threk looked sick. Regent, if we do this, we admit that our past victories were tainted. Our past victories, Kael said slowly, were still victories. Our crews fought. Our blood was still spilled, but perhaps something unseen leaned on the scale. Better to know that than to let it keep leaning. Silence sat between them for several long heartbeats. Finally, Kael set down his empty cup. "Here is what I will do," he said. "We will accept your containment pattern. We will apply it to our fleet and study the results. We will leave this corridor. Publicly, I will declare that humans have retreated into a state that offers us no worthy challenge or reward at this time, and that continued pursuit is a misuse of Dominion strength." Trek opened his mouth, then closed it when Kael's gaze cut to him. "In return," Kael went on, "you will give us full copies of your data on this parasite. All these graphs, all your logs. We will verify them through our own channels and our own analysts. You will remain in your quiet corridors. You will not interfere with our internal affairs. You will not spread this containment pattern to our enemies before we understand it." Sloane nodded. "We can agree to that. We wanted you aware, not weakened in favor of someone worse." "And if my assembly rejects this path," Kael asked, "if they send others behind me, more eager for songs and banners, then we will be ready," Sloane said. "Not with big guns, with more quiet corridors, with more allies who see what rides on war, with more small moves that limit the parasite's games." Sale added, "And some of us will be watching within your assembly as well. Questions will be asked. Seeds will be planted. This thing works slowly. So can we." Kael stood outside. The first waves of containment pattern spread from ship to ship, carried by routine updates and maintenance syncs. Engineers frowned at the new boring beat in their systems, then shrugged when it caused no harm. Over time, they would see fewer strange lucky breaks and fewer freak accidents during high-passion moments. Some would notice, some would not. The parasite felt it, in whatever way such a thing could feel. Its grip around the Dominion fleet loosened in small, painful pulls. The clean, bright moment it had been shaping, the perfect clash, the breathtaking last instant, fell apart into something muddier. No grand images, no statues for halls, just an agreement in a quiet room and a fleet that turned away. It did not die. It was too old and deep for that. It still had other empires, other songs, but for the first time, something pushed back at its favorite instrument in a clear, planned way. Kael looked at Sloane, Jamal, Miria, and Sale. "If you have lied, if this is simply a trick to turn us aside, while you strike elsewhere, the next regent who comes will not bring tea if we have lied," Sloane said. "The parasite will still use you, and your glory will still serve something that does not care who you are. We gain nothing from that." He gave a short nod, sharp as a blade cut. Then he turned and left with his Marines. Threk paused at the door, anger and confusion crossing his face. "If I were in command," he said to Sloane, "I would have taken your station and burned your corridors to ash." "I know," Sloane said. "That is why we waited for him," Threk almost replied. Then stopped. Some part of him, too, had seen those graphs. Some part of him wondered about the miracles in his own career. He followed his regent out. Hours later, Dominion ships began to detach from the Ark station's orbit. Their drives lit, not in a charge toward the inner systems, but in a slow, ordered turn back along the corridor. Way as their wideband scanners dimmed, their formation loosened in small, healthy ways. Synchronization bands on human charts dropped toward normal ranges. Jamal watched, shoulders sagging with released tension. It might not hold, he said. Politics back home might twist this into something else. But we did what we could. That is all anyone ever does. Sale replied. The rest is history's job. On Earth, still quiet and dark, a few deep sensors registered the retreat. The Quiet Earth Protocol stayed in effect. Most cities remained powered down, like careful museum pieces in the night. But in one small coastal city, long prepared for this signal, a different script began. Slowly, lights returned along a single riverfront. Power hummed back into a cluster of homes, gardens, and small public spaces. The glow was modest, not a roaring blaze. It rose like a candle in a large room, enough to see by, not enough to blind. Children who had grown up under the signal quiet rules gasped as street lamps came to life for the first time in their memory. Adults stood in doorways, listening to the soft hum of systems waking up, feeling both joy and fear. They had been told in plain words, "When the sky stays clear of loud war for a while, we will light just one place. We will see how it feels to live without feeding the hidden thing that loves our rage." In a small office there, Sloane and Jamal watched the cities feed through a narrow, shielded channel. "You think we can keep it this way?" Sloane asked, voice low. "Not perfect," Jamal said. "Humans will still argue, still fight. Sometimes, so will others. But maybe, with signaled discipline and better stories, we can keep our conflicts small, local, quieter, less appealing to that thing." "And if it comes back stronger?" she asked. "Then we do what we did here," Jamal said. "Not with Karax next time, but with whoever carries it. We find those who can listen and show them the same curves. Boring tools, used again and again." Sloane looked at the little city light on Earth. "It is strange," she said, "that after all this, victory looks like a single town turning on its lights and nothing blowing up." "That is the point," Jamal replied. "We changed the idea of victory, at least a little, from banners and burning skies to ordinary people going home safely and making tea in peace." Sale's final report, sent later to Aruan archives, would describe the event in simple terms. A meeting on an arc station, data shared, a predator in the data partially exposed and pushed back. No great battle, no dying suns. For once, neutral oversight had recorded a different kind of end. The galaxy did not change in a day. Faraway empires still plotted. Old grudges still simmered. The parasites still lingered in their codes and songs, hungry and patient. But in one corner of space, along a quiet corridor near a darkened blue world, a small group had proved that another road existed, a road of silence used not as her tool, a road where strength meant refusing to play a rigged game. And on Earth, Under a modest sky, life began again, carefully, in the soft light of a city that had chosen not to feed the hidden predator anymore.